Sweet. So let's do a little bit of a crash course on Mary. If we do have time left, if I'm able to stay focused, I want to hear any questions you have for me, any main takeaways you want to take away from this part, and anything you want to try out after talking about Mary. Like maybe I'll pray a rosary or something like that, which would be a good answer. Okay, so first page, just the key things to know. You're going to get tired of me saying this, but I will never get tired of you knowing this. From Credo 7, Jesus Christ is true God and true man, one person with two natures, a divine person, the Son, with divine nature and human nature. Okay, this is at the very front page, top. This is going to be really important. If you don't understand who Jesus is, it's going to be really difficult to understand who Mary is. Okay, so that first point is just like, get it into your heart. Good. So just going through that first page, Mary is the mother of God. She is the mother of the person of Christ, and the person of Christ is the eternal Son. Right? Immaculate conception is when Mary was conceived in her mother's womb, in Anna's womb, and she never contracted original sin or any of the brokenness we have. Okay. Mary remained entirely sinless throughout her life. Mary also remained a virgin throughout her life, both before, during, and after the birth of Christ. And then what we call the Assumption is that Mary was assumed into heaven, body, and soul. Mary is also the mother of all whom Christ calls his brothers and sisters, and therefore Christ's disciples are to cultivate a filial, that means like a son or a daughter, a filial devotion to Mary as their mother, let alone Mary as mother of God. And one of the best ways we have of showing her our devotion is praying the rosary. Catholics worship God but venerate Mary and the saints. That's one of the, at least in English we use that distinction. Old English, though, worship meant different things. So, but since like the 1600s, in case you ever meet anyone from before the 1600s, just to know. Mary has appeared miraculously at different times. Guadalupe, knock, Lord. I mean, we say lords, but French people think we're silly, so it's Lord because you don't say the S. Or Fatima. The Church approves some apparitions and denounces others and is taking its time with others. However, the faithful are not obliged to believe in these approved apparitions. I still think it's good. If you don't like Guadalupe, let's talk. But just so like, I know there are some people coming in the church that just aren't ready to like become a Guadalupano, and that's fine. Like it's not a requirement, and so I don't want to pretend it's a requirement. But you should still think about it. Okay, it's kind of like not liking French fries with ketchup. Like you can still eat French fries without ketchup, but like, what's going on? Okay, does that make sense? Okay, good. This is one of the first lessons that may actually have difficult teachings in it. Maybe not for all of us, but as a lot of the first teachings we've been going through in this class have been like obviously fought. It's like the Trinity. I think we're all on the same page. We're all like pro-Trinity here. There are some people who are against the Trinity, but I'm guessing most of you are pro-Trinity. But this is one of the first classes where like we're getting weirdly Catholic. So I just want to acknowledge that this is like, could be like new territory. Okay? And like, could be something that you've already been like prepared from different groups to like, don't fall for it when the Catholics tell you about this. Okay? Good. At the bottom of that first page, I just give you a sort of index of key scripture passages involving Mary. So she shows up a decent amount, but sometimes it's very short. I recommend sort of getting to know these passages, especially if you're ever going to pray the rosary, and you should. You should know these passages pretty well because that's what we're meditating on. And just to sort of note that she's featured at the beginning, obviously, because she's a mother, and mothers are really important for the beginning of our lives. But she's also there throughout Jesus' life. In a particular way, the last two ones are really, well, the wedding at Cana is really important, right? That's the beginning of Jesus' public ministry, and Mary is there. That's really important. And then the crucifixion and Pentecost are huge moments, like, right, life-changing moments, and Mary is there. One, just so you're aware of like what's going on in my heart, if this were homily time, I would want to like give you lots of thoughts about how beautiful Mary is and how good she is. But for RCIA time, OCIA time, I want you to know like the basics. So I'm going to move quickly. But if you ever like want to like talk about like over tea or coffee, like what is the importance of the wedding feast at Cana, like I got thoughts. Okay, so I'm holding back. I just want to acknowledge that I'm holding back, just because if I didn't hold back, we'd be on the first page for like 2 hours. Okay, good. So please talk with me. Okay, good. Going to the third page, scripting the Angelus, which we did. Again, I think the key: who is Mary? She is the mother of God. That's like the key identity she has. Okay, I think we've already talked about this over and over again, at least a couple of times, right? She's not just a biological mother of Christ's body. She's not just a mother of his humanity. You won't just say she's only mother of Jesus or only mother of Christ, because that way you don't have a person anymore of Jesus. You either have two persons or not a person, right? Mothers are mothers of persons. Even for like each one of us, our bodies come from our fathers and mothers, especially our mothers, but our soul comes from God. But you don't treat your mother as like mother of my body. Like it's mother of who I am, including my soul, which came from God, but like you're the mother of it, right? Good. This was a debate at some point in the church with Nestorius. Okay, no, I'm not going to go down that road. Okay, good. Yeah, that's one thing to be thankful about being Catholic, is that there's been a lot of fights that solve problems, and if you don't follow the Catholic Church, you're just going to get those problems again. And Nestorianism is real; it's still around, but we took care of it about 1,500 years ago. So it's like, it's like people who don't want to get vaxxed, which maybe there's a reason for it, but like, and I'm not make coronavirus, okay, but I'm thinking about just like regular things like polio, right? Like we could take care of this if you just want to join, right? Like, or you could just like go get the trouble. Anyways, okay, be Catholic. That's all I'm trying to say. Get vaccinated against heresies. Okay, good. I want to bring up sort of basic questions that even we might have as Catholics, but especially for Protestants, just to name it, right? That's kind of. So why should I be so devoted to someone who is not Jesus, right? Which is a good question, right? Jesus should be your number one. So why like have a number two, right? So first, we love Mary because Jesus loved her first, right? No one loves Mary more than Jesus. Both because he's a son, and that's his commandment, right? He, like in the Old Testament, the whole Trinity said, honor thy mother and father, so you better believe that he honors his mother, right? And he chose her. He's the only human who ever chose his own mother. If you're going to choose your own mother and could make your own mother, you probably make her pretty good, right? Like when Michelangelo's making Mary, it's always like, especially like the Pietà, like all the Italians, tutti Italiani, when they make Maria, they don't put like zits on her face. Like she is like the most beautiful, più bella donna, see? Like the most beautiful woman possible, right? And if Italians get it, certainly God, like when he's going to make Mary, he's going to make her the most beautiful, not just physically, certainly, I'm sure she was pretty good looking, but like her heart, her personality, just like, and he's going to love her more than Michelangelo loves his own paintings and sculptures. God, especially Jesus, is going to love his own mother. He made her, right? It's also that Jesus didn't just like use her as a surrogate mother. Sometimes there are certain parts of Christianity that talk about Mary as if she were just a surrogate. Like, I needed a womb, you gave me a womb, I needed nursing for a couple months, and once I got weaned, done with you, right? Like she's part of the whole salvation plan, right? She's there at the cross, there at Pentecost. And finally, too, this, like, as St. Paul puts it, it's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. So if I am living with Christ in me, and I see even a statue of Mary, I know it's not Mary, but it looks like my mother. And so, like, just the way Jesus would probably be happy to see even a photograph of his mother, like, if you're close to Jesus and you're united to him, just to see a statue of Mary, just like, oh yeah, that's my mom, Good. Okay, so if Jesus loves Mary, then we should love her too. That's the first point I want to say. Secondly, we should love Mary because it was Jesus' dying command. On the cross, his 7 last words, only one of them is a command. And it's, behold your mother. So if Jesus from the cross, right, and this is one thing, maybe you've already heard this, but when someone is dying on the cross, what kills them is asphyxiation. They can't breathe anymore. So, because it's not the pain that kills them, it's the fact that to breathe, they have to push themselves up on their crucified feet in order to like move their diaphragm to breathe. And so you don't have light-hearted conversations, right? And so like his dying words, the 7 last words of Christ, are all like he had to like push himself up on like his crucified feet in order to breathe, to say something, right? So these are like words that like we treasure every syllable he said on the cross. And particularly with regards to Mary, that he said, woman, behold your son. And then to John, the beloved disciple, behold your mother. And the word woman there, just a little bit of a tangent, is not like a cold-hearted like woman, right? Like it's actually like she's the new Eve. She is the woman, right? So it's taking us back to the garden before there was sin, and she is the woman. Okay, she is the mother of all the faithful. So if you want to be Christ's beloved disciple, then follow his command to his beloved disciple, and behold your mother. Okay. Other reasons to be devoted to Mary. Mary keeps us close to Jesus. Right? If you pray a rosary every day, I dare you to become a heretic. It's going to be really tough to pray a rosary every day and then be unfaithful to Jesus. Okay. It also too, Mary exemplifies receptivity. The basic dynamic with God is that he does good things for us and we have to say yes. And that sounds nice, but one thing I've learned as a college chaplain, and this is going to be a little bit spicy, but hopefully not offensive. Until a boy asks a girl out, the girl can be freaking out, like, why are you going to ask me out? But then once he does, there's a different, more intense freak out that happens. Like, oh no, he's actually pursuing me. This is actually kind of scary, right? So that's true for like 18-year-olds. It's also true when like the living God is pursuing you and he wants to love you. And like sometimes it's even scarier when God loves you. He always loves you, but like when he makes it clear, it's like sometimes it's even scarier than when you feel alone. And so Mary shows us how to actually receive a love like this. Right? It's kind of embarrassing how much he loves us. That's a whole other homily. Okay. Good. Okay. The next big bold-faced question: can't love for Mary subtract or distract from my love for Jesus? That's one of the biggest. I don't want to make an accusation, but like one of the biggest counter arguments, right? And it's a fair question, right? Like it is possible in some realms that if I love hanging out with Joey so much, maybe I'm just going to stop talking to Hannah. And she's like, dude, like, why are you only talking to Joey? Like, right? And like, we can take that and like bring it to like Jesus and Mary and like, oh, if I pray a rosary, then like Jesus is like, you're not going to talk with me? Like, right? Right. Good. But just, okay, on the ground level, I will admit this is theoretically possible. There are perhaps some instances in the 2,000-year history of the Catholic Church of people who loved Mary in a superstitious way that then distracted them from Jesus. It is possible. But just like the actual people I know who pray a daily rosary are really solidly friends of Jesus. So there are probably counterexamples that you can find in different cultures, but you have to like really try hard to like mess that up. Okay, does that make sense? Good. So I don't want to like dismiss the question, but just practically speaking, like, theoretically sure, but like practically speaking, like show me the money, like show me the actual problem, and then we'll talk about it. Because like most people don't who love Mary, especially like the saints like John Paul II or like Mother Teresa, were huge children of Mary, and they also were like super tight with Jesus. Like it worked. Okay, good. I'm going to pause there. Any questions or concerns from what I've already talked about, or anything you would highlight if you had a highlighter? So I didn't even do that on purpose. I didn't know that you were highlighting, but I won't awkwardly stare at you until you answer. Good. Okay, I'm going to keep going, but we're going to talk eventually. So, good. The next page is just principles of true devotion to Mary. So, being devoted to Mary fosters our immediate union with Jesus Christ. Okay? That's really important. Jesus on one side loves hierarchies, right? Not just in the church, but all of creation is a hierarchy. Like hierarchy is a bad word for us, but like it's not a bad word, right? Like if you go into a cathedral, you're glad there's a hierarchy of stones. Otherwise, it'd just be called rubble, right? Like certain stones should be in different places to make everything work, right? But for all of the hierarchies and sort of structures of society, Jesus he's always immediate with us, as in there's no mediator. There's just like you and him. As Dolly Parton and what's his name? Anyways, Islands in a Stream. It's like islands in a stream, right? You know that song? Nothing in between. How can we be wrong? Anyways, that's a reference to a song that you should know eventually. Islands in a Stream is one of the best. If you're ever doing karaoke with someone you love, Islands in the Stream is the one you should sing. Just letting you know. Good. Just a little bit of cultural. Yeah, Kenny Rogers? Okay, I knew it was. Okay. We'll listen to the song after this class. Good. Okay, one really important sort of phrase, to Jesus through Mary. Okay? So Mary is not the end point, but she's like the highway, a lot quicker to go to Jesus. Okay? Marian devotion is based on Christology. So what we believe about Mary informs what we believe about Jesus. No, reverse that. What we believe about Jesus informs what we believe about Mary. Okay? Good. And it's all about making us more like Christ. Okay? Good. Okay. So here are the key doctrines. We've already talked about them briefly, so I'm just going to fly through them. Right? So like Mary is the mother of God. She was immaculately conceived December 8th. She was always a virgin. She was assumed into heaven. What day do we celebrate the Assumption of Mary? Is it August 15th? August 15th. I don't know why it's August 15th, but that's when we do it. And then, just key titles of Mary. This is a little bit, I want to at least put these on your radar and we can unpack it if you ever want to talk with me about it. But we call Mary the new Eve. So just as Jesus is the new Adam. And there's a lot of meaning to that Jesus, like, right, just the way St. Paul in Romans 6 explains how God is starting something new with this new Adam of Jesus. So there's a new Eve, a new woman. She's also the Ark of the Covenant, right? So just as the Ark carried the presence of the Lord with his people, especially with the covenant, so too Mary is the Ark carrying Christ in her body and leading people into the promised land. She's also Queen Mother, right? So sometimes queens are the wife of the king, but in many cultures, the queen is actually the mother of the king. A lot less drama, right? And a lot more power. Mothers have a lot of power, right? Especially, anyways. Yeah. So and there's stories in, it's either First Kings. Yes, First Kings, when to persuade Solomon to agree with them, they go to Bathsheba, the mother of the king. Bathsheba, ultimately she's good. It's just like she has a bad rap because David called her out. But anyways, that's a long story.